the elusive and eccentric millionaire behind the household name that's protected millions of computers for decades.
John McAfee, the creator of the McAfee antivirus software, has been found dead in his jail cell in Spain.
John McAfee, the antivirus software magnate turned fugitive, is dead at the age of 75.
Antivirus software entrepreneur John McAfee has reportedly been found dead in his Spanish jail cell.
John McAfee found dead today in a prison cell in Spain.
John McAfee, very sad news about his death that's been reported in a prison in Spain, as you say, but it's hard to know even where to begin with John McAfee. I mean, what a colorful character. That doesn't begin to describe him.
John McAfee was not suicidal. I spoke with him a few hours before he was found dead. We spoke about the court's decision to extradite him to the U.S. It did not come as a surprise to either of us. We were prepared for that decision and had a plan of action already in place to appeal that decision.
McAfee was basically Father Antivirus. Very early on, he had over 60% control of this emerging market, which helped him fund and expand his empire. John McAfee was born September 18, 1945, in Gloucestershire, United Kingdom, on a U.S. Army base. His father was an American who was stationed there, and his mother was British. His father was soon relocated to Virginia in the United States, where John spent most of his childhood. His father became a road surveyor, and his mother was a bank teller. His father was a miserable, raging alcoholic who would beat him and his mother severely. When John was only 15 years old, his father shot and killed himself. He managed to attend and graduate Roanoke College in Salem and got a bachelor's degree in mathematics. He went on to work towards his PhD at Northeast Louisiana State College in 1968, but was kicked out for sleeping with one of the students. She ended up being his first wife. In 2008, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Science degree. McAfee's first job in computers was at the Missouri Pacific Railroad in St. Louis, after lying on his resume. They were trying to use an IBM computer to schedule trains in 1969. Within 6 months, McAfee made a system that produced optimized train routes. He later admits to using LSD frequently during this gig. Between 1968 and 1970, he also worked as a programmer in the Institute for Space Studies of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration in New York City, also known as NASA. In 1983, he served as Director of Engineering at Omex, a company that built storage systems. Like many other high-level executives during the time, he started his day by doing a line off his desk and spent the rest of the day polishing off a bottle of scotch. In 1987, he founded the software company McAfee Associates. He created the first version of McAfee Antivirus in 1989 after reading about a computer virus from Pakistan that was invading American computers. The success of his software resulted in him earning nearly $5 million a year for his company, based on their monthly users, who he now had paying licensing fees. In the early 90s, this was a lot of money. He was now using drugs and alcohol to excess. His first wife left him, and in a spiritual sense he had hit a complete rock bottom. He kept himself shut in his home, on a bender for days, after which he realized he needed to make a change. During the mid-90s, he founded a new company, and invented one of the very first instant messaging systems he called Powwow. In the year 2000, he opened a yoga retreat in Colorado, and produced some books and DVDs about yoga.
Pain is nothing more than a powerful sensation, is it not? I mean, it's your body talking to you like your body talks to you when you get a massage or when you're sexually aroused.
Is that love? Isn't it selfishness?
What is this thing that you want to make immortal?
Because to live is to die simultaneously.
He taught his students how to combat the human condition of fear and uncertainty through self-understanding that he considered to be the overlooked core of yoga. He had some semblance of a normal life with his second wife, Judy. He was now a seasoned businessman whom startups turned to for advice, and after his second marriage fell apart in 2002, he remained a respectable citizen who donated computers to schools and paid for ads discouraging drug use. In 2010, Intel purchased his antivirus software company for $7.68 billion. McAfee was happy to unload this asset, saying, "I'm now everlastingly grateful to Intel for freeing me from this terrible association with the worst software on the planet." He had already liquidated and auctioned off most of his assets, and was looking for a Caribbean property to embark on a more simplistic and minimalistic life. Belize is raw and in your face. There's an opportunity to see something about human nature that you can't really see in a politer society, because the purpose of society is to mask ourselves from each other. He purchased a 2.5-acre jungle compound in Belize that he outfitted with very tight security.
Most beautiful beach in the world, a reef a quarter of a mile offshore. I snorkel, I fish, I swim, I love the water. It was beautiful.
He also didn't like the idea of getting old, so he took testosterone injections every other week. He was never really looking to retire at all. He started a cigar manufacturing business, a water taxi service, and built new bungalows on his property. February 2010, he created a company called Quorum X. He was trying to formulate natural antibiotics and other natural medicines with Dr. Alison Adonisio, a Harvard PhD and antimquorum sensing patent holder. She was the lead on the research into and development of medicines extracted from the native plants of Belize. McAfee had met Allison at a beachfront resort where he'd gone for lunch. She was there on holiday. When she shared her interest in plant compounds that could prevent bacteria from causing infections, he immediately offered to fund her research, build her a laboratory, and gave her a place to live on the island, local to where the plants were that she was studying.
Yeah, I didn't know him from Adam, but I told him about my research, and he seemed engaged. He seemed interested, and within minutes of conversation, he offered me my dream job. He said, "You can continue your research, and we'll make a business out of it." And I thought, oh my God! I mean, this is it. This is like my big break.
She said yes on the spot, quit her research position in Boston, sold her house, and moved to Belize. April 30th, 2012, his compound was raided by the Gang Suppression Unit of Belize on suspicion that he was manufacturing methamphetamine, to be easily confused with his attempts to purify MDPV, derived from a natural herb native to Belize that enhances sexual pleasure for women. Now, what would we need that for? Isn't the female orgasm a myth? They found no meth, or any illegal drugs of any kind, and although he was never charged, the facility was shut down. In August, McAfee reported to Wired that he was living with 5 women, all of which had their own personal bungalow on his property.
I do have teenage girlfriends, and many at a time. Nothing illegal. They're well beyond the age of consent, and I see nothing wrong with it, and if you do, then that's okay.
Ooh. I can't keep count. I would say at least 5 or 6 girls, that living at the house.
I had to stop school. Then that's when I talked to John McAfee. Then he gave me money to go to school. Then after that, he started calling me and asked me to go there. And I told him, okay, it's not a problem. So I went there and just sleep with him.
John said, "You are not the only girl. I have more than one girl here. I don't want no fighting, and I'll treat all the same." That was pretty young, so I'd be like, okay.
He treats me the best. He takes me out on lunch. He takes us to San Pedro town, go shopping.
John McAfee used to treat me, well, I say the best. He's always around me, and when they call him, he would just out of his phone because he's with me. He would spend most of the time with me in the room, and he would bring me breakfast and,
He treated all the girls them nice, tell them they're beautiful and the right stuff the girls want to hear. I think they will stay there for the money at first, and then most of them eventually had real, true feelings for him.
On November 9th, 2012, after an ongoing dispute, his neighbor, 52-year-old American expat Gregory Fall, who had complained about McAfee's dogs barking and had an overall disdain for McAfee's lifestyle, had poisoned his dogs. McAfee found his dogs vomiting blood and convulsing on the ground. This would be the first time any of the girls had witnessed McAfee cry, as he used a gun to put them out of their misery.
Shotgun, and I said, "What are you gonna do?" And he said he's gonna take the dog out of their misery. And then he started crying. I never saw him crying till that day. And he went to the dogs and he shot the dogs.
He said, "I wonder if it's Greg Fall that poisoned my dogs."
One of the security came and said that the dogs is foaming through their mouth. So he went and he saw the dog, and then he said, you know, the dogs have been poisoned. That what he said. The first thing came in his mind was that it was his neighbor.
Greg Fall had it with those dogs and said, I'm going to poison those dogs. A day later, John's dogs were poisoned.
On November 11th, Greg was found dead in a pool of his own blood. He was shot twice in the back of the head, execution style. The next day, the police issued a search and considered McAfee a person of interest in the murder due to their ongoing dispute.
McAfee had a reputation in the neighborhood. Greg said he's just a rich American and he's just terrorizing the neighborhood. Greg was very vocal of not liking McAfee.
Greg was not happy with him, and he had some issues with McAfee.
Keeney says her son Greg was disgusted by what McAfee had brought back from the jungle, that harem of women, the armed guards, and especially the swarm of dogs.
He successfully fled to Guatemala, but he just couldn't resist the publicity, and he had agreed to do an interview with Vice. Unfortunately, the geolocation metadata from the photos taken of the interview were not stripped before being uploaded, which led to his arrest and extradition back to the United States on December 12, 2012. The night after McAfee arrived back in the U.S. and he was released, he met now-wife Janice Dyson, who was offering her service as a sex worker.
He was deported back to America, landing in Miami, where he met his future wife, Janice. She was a prostitute at the time.
He saw the human in me. He thought I was worthy enough of a second chance.
Is it strange for you to have found love in your late 60s, early 70s?
I instantly saw in Janice what I had been looking for my entire life.
Undeterred by his legal issues, he invested in BlackCert, a Denver-based company specializing in online encryption. He also made the announcement to run for president as a candidate from a newly formed cyber party.
Presidential candidate John McAfee says his campaign is personal.
The issue is not just one of character. I think it's one of heart, because my heart aches for this country.
In a 2016 documentary about his experiences in Belize, it was alleged by his now ex-business partner, Dr. Allison, that after expressing her discomfort with the activities around the compound and wanting to terminate her research at his facility, that she was drugged and raped by McAfee.
You know, honestly, I was scared. I had planned to leave, but I needed to figure out how to do it, you know. I went to talk to him. I sat there on the couch and I told him everything. I said, look, I don't like what you're doing. I'm not getting anywhere with my work. I feel undermined. You know, I had a headache. I was crying so much. I told him I had a headache, and he brought me. He went into the other room and he brought me 2 pills and a glass of orange juice. And so I took them. I took a sip of the orange juice, and it tasted foul. It tasted bitter. I only have sort of flashes of recollection. He was standing over me, naked. And I woke up the next morning, grabbed my clothes. I don't even remember taking them off. I went back to my house and I locked myself in my apartment, and I crying, and I was bleeding. Somehow I found the courage to confront him, and he acted as if nothing happened. And I said, I'm leaving. I'd like to split on fair terms, and if you could buy me out of the company. And he went from 0 to crazy in like 2 seconds, pushed me through the door of his Orange Walk compound. I locked myself in the lab, and I thought, he's dangerous. I started destroying all the samples and, any of the reagents that he could have used against someone. And I emailed my dad. I had just about maybe 10 minutes to do this. I emailed my dad, bought a plane ticket home. And as soon as I hit send on that email, he cut the power. He was pounding on the door, just screaming, and he left. and he got a gun. And he came back. I was hiding beneath the benches. I'd made some friends by that point. And I texted my friends and I said, guys, you gotta come get me. Like, he could have broken in, he didn't. I don't know if he went back in the house or what happened, but my friends came to get me. And they escorted me out and took me to the plane the next morning.
I have a little trouble believing this story, considering how many willing partners he was known to have during this time. She also says she was scared of him and had friends on the island. Could she not have just left and worried about severing business ties later? How did she know he went and got a gun if she was hiding under a bench in the lab? And why would she destroy the samples? How do you use natural formulas against someone? Also, why would you take pills and a drink from someone you're that afraid of? Sounds like somebody had a temper tantrum because they weren't getting their way anymore.
Allison, yes, I met her, man. By the way, my name is Felix, you know. Allison, you know, you were talking bad about John, you know, that he raped you. But if you're talking about rape, come on. I should be the one that could accuse you, you know, because I was 17 years old. Do you remember that? Well, you know, I was working here in the property as well from the beginning, so I was always around, you know. So Allison used to stay in our village, you know, so I lived very close to her, next to my aunt. So she invited me over, and you know, we had talks. We used to go to club, drink and stuff like that. And for sure, man, we had a lot of sex and stuff like that. She was very crazy on sex, you know. So one day she called me, you know, she called me over and said, you know, she wanted me to invite another girl, you know. She wanted to have a threesome, but this time here, you know, she was sober. She didn't have any alcohol. So you know, she's a very crazy girl, man. You know, we here in Belize, we call it bad girl, you know. She's a bad girl.
Hi, my name is Eric Martinez. I'm a licensed tour guide and a licensed boat captain for more than 10 years. I'm also very mad and upset because I heard rumors that Allison is accusing him wrongfully of a certain crime. I'm here to clear his name. I'm here to explain you because I knew her personally because I live in the property from the very start. Very strict with non-alcohol or any type of drugs in his premises. That's why she never ever slept over here in this property. I can remember one of the times, man. I can remember Allison, man. You're a very nice girl. I remember one time we went to a club and she got drunk, man. She got drunk so fast, and I took my eye off her for like a second. And when I looked back, she was taking off her clothes, man. I mean, I tried to stop her. I mean, I was totally sober.
Where was this? In the club?
This was in the club, yes. One night in the club, yeah. So another while, I noticed she's jumping into the bar now and she's serving herself a drink. So securities came and they said, sorry, you cannot take off your clothes and you cannot get into the bar. So I remember Allison as a very happy person, but then I don't like the part where she says she got raped because I was living here all the time. I was a person who went with her to collect leaves that she would be using in the laboratory because she told me she was billing, they were doing an antibiotic. I can still have one of the little containers that I actually hold. There was 1,000 of them. And my mom lived in his house that used to be right here on this mount, you know, which we all know that got burned down by some mystery or something. My mom worked for him. If I would ever feel threat that John was hitting or hurting any woman, I personally would have been the first to remove my mom from his house. My friends, we're here in Tower Hill. Remember the famous mother that I was talking about? This is my mom. She worked for John almost 2 years in his house. So when I heard that Allison is alleging or blaming Mr. McAfee for any wrongdoing, this is the lady that I think is the closest, even closer than I was to John, because she actually took care of his house. She cooked his food, you know, so she should know a little bit more about this misunderstanding that's happening. So
that is a lie. That is a lie. Cause she don't come upstairs. And is not authorized to come upstairs, and that is a lie and saying about him.
Okay,
Yes,
so you used to work at John.
Yes, and I used to mind the house. I take care of all I things them up to money. He used to trust me to have there, and I cook. He trusts me. Me the one who I cook for him when he could trust, and he's a nice person. So I don't know why she's saying that big lie from him. That is a lie. Can he respect we? He like we like a friend and workers, and so he's saying a lie. She's saying a lie there. So and when next boss like John, I'll never get again. So I wish that he came back to Belize. Yes, I will miss him.
Seems to me like she probably would have said anything in exchange for funding to continue her research.
Emotional and physical scars from that experience.
John's take on the Cormex dissolution.
Allison Adonicio, a mad woman.
A mad woman.
A mad woman.
Well, she claims that you raped her. You drugged her and raped her.
Well, she can claim whatever she likes. Never had sex with her, certainly never raped her. She seemed rational. She was not.
Allison turned out to be far more interested in partying than in doing actual work. She would not show up at the lab for days at a time, and when she did show up, she was hungover and generally useless. After many months of this, I finally fired her, upon which she went berserk, locked herself in the lab, destroyed what limited research we had created, and left. This was in 2010. I never saw her again. Nanette was already exposed and criticized once before for her pseudo-documentary, American Teen, in 2008. Whoop, there it is. Would you look at that? Turns out Nanette Burstein paid for many of these impoverished Belize residents to lie for her documentary, and had likely paid Allison as well.
Last year, about this time, Showtime had contacted me to do an interview. I declined about twice. They called back and they said, call my shots, how much I wanted. They would pay me any amount to say lies about John and about the murder in San Pedro, which I have no knowledge about.
I did some interviews for Showtime and some other company, but Showtime actually told me what to say, and part of it, most of it was a lie, and he was actually this type of person that would actually help people. He was a nice person. He loved animals, especially dogs. Felt happy that I met him because he actually changed my world a little bit. Well, I did one interview with Showtime. Some of the stuff that I said was true and some were lies. John McAfee, wherever you are missed by me, and I know you moved on. I hope you have a wonderful life with your wife.
I want to say I know a lot about him, his life and that, but as far as I work with him, he's a wonderful guy, man. I love working with not an engineer, no, not an engineer, how call it, a pioneer.
Did anybody from Showtime came to do an interview with you?
Yes, they came to me a couple time back.
And what they were asking you?
They were asking me about, life of John McAfee. They told me they work with John McAfee on this, and they want to get an interview with me, and so on. They want to know about the killing days that they say that he perpetrated about the killing about the white boy and thing. The way they talk to me, they want to put it to me that, yeah, that he did it. That for me to say, and I just told him, no man, I don't know. But as far as I know, Mr. John, he don't do a thing like that. Huh?
And these people were paying you?
Yeah, they were paying me.
How much they paid you?
They paid me $1,000.
So what you would like to say to Mr. John?
Well, Mr. John, I'd like to say to you, sir, when I was down and out, you helped me out, right? With me, Rasta, a good man is never honored in his own yard. Trust me.
I first met John in May of 2011. Started working for him. I did about a year, 8 months with John. He was one of the few employers that I've had who really treated me like an employee. He was honest. He paid the right wages, never trying to nickel and dime you. I would like to say that beside myself and many other employees, we were really, really sad to see that he had to leave the country and leave all of us here. He was like a benefactor to a lot of us by paying good wages, but also paying good wages, but demanding that you do a good job. For the past year, I've been doing several interviews with different people. But from what I've seen is that, especially Showtime, they wanted to sensationalize the interviews, probably. Well, I wouldn't even say probably, because it was said to me that they want an interview that will attract viewers. And once their ratings can go up through this interview, they were willing to pay me a reasonable amount of money. I accepted the money and I improvised to make it sound sensational. I improvised by stating things that didn't even take place. Whoever is listening to this, put yourself in my shoe, that you are living in a country, you've had a really, really good job, a really, really good salary, and then from one day to the next it's taken away from you. And then here comes a television network who is willing to pay to build up their ratings, and I accepted. 90% of what I said in that interview with Showtime was only makeup to sensationalize what they wanted.
I was the girl who escaped with him from Belize. We went to Guatemala where my uncle helped him to get him out of the country, which he is now located at the US. I did a bunch of interviews and people paid me for the pictures and stuff, so I took the money because I needed it. And like I said in all interviews, I just say what I knew, but everything is just a lie, and I just did it for the money because I needed the money.
I used to live with him and so forth, and they had some people that came on from some Showtime, and they were insisting me to say a lie that John killed the white man in San Pedro, which is, it is a lie. John would have never do that, and they keep on forcing me to say that he did it, but which is, he didn't do it, and I believe so because he was a good man. They were insisting, yes, that he did the murder, and I told them no, he didn't do it.
Why would you say he didn't do it?
Because the type of person he is, kind, loving and caring, he would never do something like that.
And there were some people down here of Showtime. They were forcing me to say lie that John McAfee killed the white man, but I know John is not that kind of person. He's a kind, loving person, and I doubt he would, I know he would never do that.
Okay, and these people were paying you to say that?
Yeah, these people were paying me to say lie about John McAfee, but I know he would never do that.
I used to be the backup taxi driver for Mr. John McAfee. As far as I am concerned, he was an excellent guy, very nice, used to pay us every run, never owed us. And yes, we got interviewed by a couple news medias, and they've kind of forced us to say what they feel like was the right thing to say. But as far as I'm concerned, everything I said to them was previously don't lie. You know, Belize is a poor country, and we needed a little bit of money, so I took whatever opportunity I had and make some money out of it. So Mr. John, thank you very much.
John was so very, very loving and caring, and he was also very helpful for the whole entire country of Belize. He had so many good friends with him. He never did have a problem. This problem with Greg Fall, it so happened that, you know, everybody's trying to blame John for this murder that was happened in San Pedro. John is not that type of person, you know, that will be doing such things. John had money. He is a pioneer in the software, John McAfee software, antivirus, and John doesn't has no intention of killing that old guy, Mr. Greg Fall. Mr. Greg Fall had an alcoholic problem. He was really, really, really into the drugs and drinks. He was drunk every day because I was living in San Pedro, in the coast, where John had his apartments, his house. And every day I would see this Mr. Greg Fall passing drunk, you know, and he will always be cursing. He had a problem with everyone up in the coast. Suddenly this guy died, you know. This guy, he was going through a divorce with his wife, so nobody knows who killed that guy. But to me, honestly, I was with John, and John will never do such thing. Here with a television crew, they were paying everybody that had close relationship with John to say things that, you know, negative things about John. They were trying to get information. They were paying some workers, some of John's girlfriends, so that they could talk bad about John, you know, so that they could take that interview for their investigation. But really and honestly, these guys that came here and they were paying up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for an interview so that they could collect negative things about John McAfee.
And how much they had offered you?
They came here and they offered me $5,000, and I refused it. I told them, no, I'm not into to selling no one for money, because that's not my thing. I know John as an honest and genuine and a genius person. John would never commit such a crime.
Yes, there was like 2 occasions where different set of people, you know, from the US came in and wanted to speak with me, but I denied their request because they were, you know, pinpointing certain points that they wanted me to agree with on their interview, but was not true, so I didn't do it, you know. And they were offering me very, you know, handsome large amount of money, so, but I knew it wasn't true, so I couldn't agree to something that's not true.
When you're saying they were wanted you to say lies, that's what you were saying, it was concerning what?
Well, it was concerning murder of a guy in San Pedro that they were accusing John of, and, you know, that's what they wanted information on, but I knew John didn't do it, and I didn't have any information concerning that. But they were paying enough, you know, very handsome amount of money just to agree to what they were saying, you know. But I didn't do it because I knew it wasn't true, and what they were bringing or saying, it's you know, total nonsense.
We had an incident with a murder here in Belize, and we got a lot of news media and TV shows. They came conducting a lot of interviews for people that were affiliated with Mr. McAfee. Majority of the time they kind of influenced us to try to say some stuff negative about Mr. John. But as far as I know, majority of my interviews, I lied to them a lot. You know, Belize is very poor. We kind of capitalize on making a little bit of extra money. So when they asked me to do interview, I did it. But From my end, to me, Mr. McAfee was a very kind, generous person. He actually bought my first cab on this island. And for that, I'm very highly and deeply appreciated for that.
Known to the world that John McAfee is a man who has always looked after the marginalized people and the poor people of Belize. One day my phone rang and it was this guy who told me that the people from Showtime wanted to talk to me. I had spoken to Nanette and she told me that they represented Showtime. They were making this documentary of John, but giving me the impression that it was just an ordinary documentary. I said, okay, fine, no problem. What do you want to know? Well, we don't want to know that John was good, that John took care of poor people, that John did this. We want to know what happened with the murder. So I told her, you know, I have nothing to say about a murder because I have no knowledge of what happened with this murder with this guy. So I said, yeah, I know that. I said, well, can you tell us about that? Then I told her, you know, if you want that type of interview, it will cost you like $30,000. And then she came back like 2 or 3 hours after and she said, you know, Kashan, I can only offer you $10,000 to do an interview, but the interview will be based on the recollection and information that you have concerning Thursday night when the dogs were poisoned to when you were arrested on Monday. I said, okay, how long do you want the interview to last? He said, well, at least 30 minutes. I said, okay, I'm going to do it for 30 minutes. But after she left and I realized what she really wanted, I mean, $10,000, the average Belizean worker only makes $150 a week. Here I am being offered to make $10,000 for 30 minutes. It was impossible to put that, to let that pass me. So I accepted and I realized that I'm going to improvise. And so whatever I told Nanette on that interview was a pure fabrication of my imagination. So I have to come out clearly and say no, that John had nothing to do with that murder.
Which murder was that?
I'm talking about John's neighbor. This was a guy who I really had no contact with this guy. I am here now saying that whatever I told Nanette was fabrication, pure lies, to earn what she said she would pay me. After the 30 minutes was almost up, he said, I'm going to give you $2,500 more if you just give me 10 more minutes of interview, but I am going to ask you the questions. My kids and my family were going to have the best Christmas that we have. But then during the interview, she kept pushing words in my mouth. She kept asking me questions that I knew if I wanted to make it credible, I had to improvise again and make it more credible to her. And then I continued saying lies about John McAfee. I believe in my heart that John had nothing to do with that murder. Absolutely nothing. John would never, ever do something like that. And Nanette gave me $5,000 US. I mean, hey, here in Belize, who has ever hold $5,000 US? After a while, because she had promised me that whenever the project is completed and it was going to be aired, she would contact me before it is being aired. She had even promised to send me a copy so that I can see it before it is being aired worldwide. She did not do that. What I am saying now is the truth and nothing else but the truth.
And what they wanted to know about?
They wanted to know if John McAfee really killed the white guy from San Pedro. And we told her no, because she was insisting that John McAfee killed the white guy. We told her that's a lie.
Okay.
We would never do that.
So she wanted you guys to say that?
That John McAfee killed the white guy.
Okay, and so she told you that she was coming on behalf of John?
Yes.
All right. And the interview, what she told you, that this interview
was going to be shown as a movie or what?
No, only shown to John McAfee.
Yes, that was.
Okay, and she pay on for this?
Yes, she paid $800, but I got paid in $10 US.
I got paid in blues, 8 blues.
Okay, blues when you mean blues?
Belize.
Alright. So you want to make what? The world know that what she told you that wasn't going to be shown on the television or Showtime movie is shown on how you feel, really. Say it, please.
Yeah, I really pissed at her because she didn't tell us that it was going to be on Showtime or anybody's going to see it. She told us it was only going to be John McAfee. And that's not fair if she has us all on TV to the whole world and know that we did an interview.
Nanette, you absolute sociopath. You had these girls lie and say McAfee liked them to shit in his mouth for $10 US each? Greasy.
He asked you to shit in his mouth, and so
he would cut a little hole and he would sit there. He used to make you shit in his mouth like that.
As far as whether it was, whether John had been involved in this other murder that had been very public, which he was a person of interest in, and this rape that I uncovered, and some of his other crazy behavior, I was not really aware of until I was already in the mix. Too late. The salary of documentary filmmakers is not always in line with raising a kid in New York City. So there was some exploration of, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to balance this? I tried some fiction work, which I didn't enjoy as much. I had a long-term fascination with him. And then when Jeff Wise, the reporter, had unearthed some new contacts and interviews and brought it to me, I thought, well, this is worth looking into. I feel like we're, in the entertainment media business, there's no security ever in anything. So as much as I can have a model, I feel like I have found a model that works. There were a lot of rumors. There were a lot of tall tales. It was really finding the people that had been directly involved with him and making sure that there was always more than one source on something where the stories lined up exactly. Otherwise, it's really dangerous to put that in a story if you don't think it's true and there's a lot of evidence behind it. He did, enormously affect people in his world in Belize. I mean, he created a little kingdom that he lorded over, a very strange kingdom. So you have this point of view of all the people that were affected by him, while also trying to give a character portrait of who he was. There were an enormous amount of legal issues on this film that I had never had to encounter before, just because of the kind of accusations that we were making and bringing up. When you're making a film of this nature that is basically saying someone committed some very bad acts, and they should be looked into and further investigated and held accountable, then that's a very serious charge, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything properly. Going down to Belize and meeting the people and seeing that level of poverty and how much people had been exploited by him very much kept my spirit going and my determination going. There was a moment, I think, that was really the only moment that I was afraid, really, truly afraid. And I came to one of his events in New York City and surprised him there. And I thought he would recognize me. He actually didn't seem to recognize me. I thought, well, it's like, haven't you Googled me? But I don't know. He was like, really? You're Nanette, huh? And then he walked away. And then he started, a half hour later, he started writing me very hostile emails, what my sexual activities might be in the future or now, that he needs to make sure that, if I didn't do anything kinky, then he would make it up and put it out there for public consumption. That was interesting.
You do one interview with a former colleague of John McAfee, who alleges that she was drugged and raped by John McAfee.
I didn't know at the time that had happened. I knew that she had a company with him in Belize, this natural antibiotics company. She was postdoc, worked at Harvard, very smart, educated, and he had funded her research in Belize, and it was her dream job. And then she suddenly left a couple years in, and I wasn't really sure what the story was there. You know, we talked, and I was very surprised. I didn't realize that had happened, and we talked a lot about it. And then I didn't want to push her, though. That's such a courageous thing to do, and something that someone has to decide on their own. But she said, listen, I'm telling you because I really do want to come out with this story. And she did actually have some evidence, which I did my due diligence on, but I told her I wouldn't talk about it. But anyway, unless it had to come up. But, you know, I felt like at the end I found enough leading evidence of what I thought had happened in Belize. And so, you know, it felt like the end of the film was how he has reinvented himself.
According to the network, the famed inventor of the antivirus software, quote, went off the grid to live in Belize, building a compound in harem, becoming a drug lord, and developing an armed security force to guard himself against the police until he is a suspect in his neighbor's murder and must make a great escape, unquote. So today, Tyrone Morales, Zaira Mahil, Saka Kanul, and Cassian Chavarria came forward stating that they lied about McAfee. They received thousands of dollars, in one case over $12,000. The producers had traveled to Belize to interview persons close to McAfee, but now attorney Brian Neal is saying that his clients were manipulated by producers Nanette Burstein and Jeff Wise.
Certain producers named in the press release came to Belize, manipulated them, got information from them under false pretenses, forced them to sign documents, in certain cases gave them alcohol and payment to say bad things about John McAfee.
She says, well, if you accept to do this interview, I will actually pay you. I still told her I do not want to do it, right? So later on she kept sending me text messages, but from the beginning I do not know why or how she got my phone number. So she eventually got me to do the interview. So after the interview, she gave me in total she gave me $5,000 Belize. So that was it, you know. She also made me sign a paper that I tried to read the paper, but the words were too small, like very small. I couldn't read it, you know, like I don't know what happened there. So
Cassian Chavarria worked with McAfee for 18 months on San Pedro between May 2011 and February 2013. He was on McAfee's property when Gregory Fall was killed on the adjacent property and his 7 dogs poisoned.
What happened is that the more I was talking, the more I had this hook in her. And so when I look at my watch, I saw that like the 35 minutes was already up because I did specify to her it was only going to be 30 minutes. Take it or leave it. And then she told me, you know what, give me another 50 minutes, let's make it up to the hour, and I will give you $2,500 more. And I agreed to her, and that was the end of it. She gave me, and then she gave me like 5 or 6 pages of a document to sign. I guess it was a release, but I couldn't read it. Certain things I said were outright lies, but I tied it in with certain truths to make it more plausible, more credible, more, you know, I want more. Like when you're reading a good book and you reach that part that you want to get to the bottom of this thing.
She said, because it was from behalf of John McAfee, it said that John sent her to do the interview. So I said yes. So when I went to do the interview, she was asking me so many times if I know if John McAfee killed the Gringo, and I told her no, John McAfee is not a person like that. He would never do something like that. And she was trying to make me say lies that John killed the man and so forth.
Fair and honest work for the locals. good wages, and always polite and gracious. He was kind to and supported many girls in their academic and other pursuits. So many people saying he was the best boss or boyfriend they ever had. What a terribly awful guy. Some of the girls, however, were a wild card and a lot less stable. One of his girlfriends, Amy Emischwiller, had an impulse to rob and kill McAfee one night. He was clearly a very rich man, with all of the guns, money, and other valuables he had on the property. She grabbed his Smith & Wesson out of the holster hanging in his room, went to the foot of the bed, pointed it at him, and pulled the trigger. At the very last moment she winced, closed her eyes, and shot wide, missing but deafening McAfee. McAfee jumped out of bed, grabbed the gun, and took her phone and TV away for a month. He also decided to move her down the road to her own apartment, off the compound. His security detail was heavily armed. He asserted that he could use them as hitmen if need be. Seemed a little odd and excessive, but all of the locals were happy with the jobs McAfee had brought to the island, as well as his fair treatment and pay. However extreme and paranoid he may have seemed, this was Captain Antivirus, king of encryption and internet security. He likely wanted to feel as safe at home as he does on his computer. He insists throughout 2012 onward that he did not kill Greg Fall, but that doesn't mean he didn't have him killed. Could also be argued that one of these girls had done it on their own accord to show their devotion to McAfee. There was an awful lot of competition for his attention after all. While still riding high on the vengeance for his beloved dogs, he had become a notorious party boy. This was illustrated in his infamous How to Install McAfee parody video that he uploaded in June 2013.
Although I've had nothing to do with this company for over 15 years, I still get volumes of mail asking, how do I uninstall this software? I have no idea.
Similarly named option to begin the uninstall process. When finished, reboot the system. John, are you getting this?
Yes.
You may have to download the McAfee Consumer Product Removal Tool. John?
Huh? Yes.
Does that sound about right?
Over the next several years, he took part in many different business ventures, working with MGT, a technology holding company, in the cybersecurity sector, as well as cryptocurrency. On August 13, 2013, McAfee took a position of CEO with LuxCore, a cryptocurrency company focused on enterprise solutions. He had most recently created his own crypto coin service, McAfee Dex, and his own coin he had called Whacked, to further enforce the claims that Epstein didn't kill himself.
The Whacked token, which was a joke token that I created 3 months ago, and everybody wants it fucking pumped. You want it pumped? There. The Whacked fucking token, as you may have noticed 3 months ago when I did tattoo the motherfucker on my arm.
November 14th, 2018, the Circuit Court in Orlando, Florida, USA, refused to dismiss a wrongful death lawsuit against him for the murder of Greg Fall in Belize. But this didn't slow him down one bit. In January 2019, he announced online that he was on the run from the U.S. authorities and living internationally on a boat following his indictment by a grand jury. Between May to July of 2020, he dropped the Ghost crypto coin and began talking about a secure and encrypted mobile service also called Ghost. On October 3, 2020, he was arrested at the request of the U.S. Department of Justice for tax evasion in an airport in Barcelona, Spain, when he was about to board a flight to Turkey. He was booked into the Centro Penitenciario in Barcelona. Isn't it interesting how quickly they got to him for tax evasion, but seemed to let the murder investigation kind of fizzle off? We live in a society, folks. Here are some of his tweets while he was in prison. On June 23, 2021, McAfee was found hanging in his prison cell, only hours after the Spanish National Court had ordered his extradition back to the United States. Minutes after the report of his death, an image of the letter Q was posted to his Instagram feed, possibly in reference to QAnon conspiracy theory, but we're all still trying to unpack that. The day after his death, McAfee's attorney told reporters that he regularly maintained contact with McAfee while he was in prison, and there was never any indications that he would take his own life awaiting extradition. His wife Janice also spoke to media outlets and confirmed she had spoken to him only hours before he was reported dead, and he had made no suggestion that he was suicidal whatsoever.
I blame the U.S. authorities for this tragedy. Because of these politically motivated charges against him, my husband is now dead. His last words to me were, "I love you, and I will call you in the evening." Those words are not words of someone who is suicidal. All John wanted to do was spend his remaining years fishing and drinking. He did not deserve to die in a filthy prison like a caged animal. We knew that there would be an uphill battle to continue to fight this situation, but he's a fighter. He's always a fighter, and anybody that knows John, that knows him even a little bit, knows that about him. He would never quit this way. He would never take his life in this way. I didn't believe he did this, and I will get answers. I want answers of how this was able to happen.
I guess the question now is he actually dead? Was he suicided by a corrupt entity? Or was there an elaborate plan to fake his own death? He has gone to great lengths to evade and escape authorities in legal matters before. How easily can law enforcement be bought in Spain? In one of his final interviews given May 22nd, 2021, to Countier, he was asked, "Is there anything you've yet to do in your life?" He replied, "Well, I'm 74. What would I want to experience? I've slept with thousands of women. I've been married too many times. I've made fortunes and lost fortunes. I've been in jail, on the run, lied on beaches in the South Pacific. I've had a very entertaining life. What the fuck else do I want to do? I want to wake up you kids out there. You went to sleep on us. You let other people start thinking for you. Who are those others? The mainstream fucking media. Your government propaganda. If I could reach through this screen and grab you all by the throat, I would say, wake up my children, my grandchildren. I fucking fear for you." Countier continued with, "Right now there's a lot of laws being enforced, telling people not to go outside, not to do certain things. What can young people really do right now? I think I made that recommendation earlier. But the first thing you've got to do is ask who the fuck you are. Because if you don't know who you are, then how in the hell are you going to decide what you're going to do? And that you must find. Or else we are fucking lost as a species. We will become two fucking species. The prey, that's us, and the predator, the thing which works so hard to take control away from us, our governments. You must, children, wake the fuck up and find out who the fuck you are, then come and see me." Now begs the question of his contingency plan. A dead man's switch theory has been floating around the internet. There's a lot of whacked token activity, and a strange site with a countdown timer was found while people have been sifting through McAfee's tweets. Speculation that the Florida condo collapse had something to do with the 33 terabytes of information he allegedly had. It's not really that far-fetched, considering his software was loaded onto millions of computers, including businesses, and likely also government systems. I'm sure the king of encryption and cybersecurity could have gotten his hands on all kinds of classified documents if he wanted to. It's no longer a secret that the CIA and other clandestine agencies have committed heinous crimes against humanity, conducted outrageous human experiments, and kept us in the dark on many phenomena like the UFOs. I wonder how many people reported a UFO sighting that were considered liars, crazy, or went so far as to receive psychiatric care or medication as a result, when it was real all along. What else could they be hiding from us? What do you guys think is really going on here? I'll follow up as the story continues to unfold. Definitely be interesting to see what happens when the timer runs out, if anything happens at all. Big thanks to those of you watching right till the end. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to be notified when I upload new videos, make sure to subscribe and click the little bell. And I will catch you on the flip side.